Okay, I wanted to do some math to figure out if it's smarter to buy now at a 7% interest rate versus a year from now at 5.25. Now, we know interest rates are slightly higher than this right now or going to be. We also don't know what the interest rate is going to be a year from now. So, to keep it simple, we're going to look at an average price point in far north San Antonio of 450,000 with zero down. Okay, zero down because that just keeps it really simple. Now, let's just say on average people move every 7 years. So we're going to look at 7 years from now, how much interest they're going to pay, and also what they would sell their home for 7 years from now. Now, 7 years from now is in 2022, but if they wait 7 years or wait a year to purchase at a lower interest rate, then it's going to be 7 years from 2023. Okay, so looking at this, what I did was to 450,000, I plugged that into an amortization calculator and just calculated how much interest you're going to pay over the first 7 years. Now, as you know, on an amortization schedule, a lot of your interest is paid early on. That's how they get you. That's how they make their money. So they put a lot more interest on the front end. So at 7 years, you're going to end up paying $211,647.70 in paid interest. Now let's look at if you waited a year at 5.25%. Now, if you wait a year, we're going to just pretend that the growth in home values rises about 5%. Now, I know on, like say a lot at 3.5%, 4%, but we're going to use 5% to be even more favorable. So if they wait a year, that $450,000 house is now $472,500. Now, of course, they're putting zero down at 5.25. And so after 7 years, they're going to end up paying $164,294.42 in interest. Okay, so they're going to pay less here. Now, there's some other factors, and there's many more if you really want to go deeper with this. I went as basic as I could with still adding a lot of good stats. So 5% annual return. Now we're going to go and sell this home. So we're selling this home that we purchased for $450,000, and we're factoring in how much interest we're going to, pay during that time, and we'll get there in a second. And so 7 years from now, at $450,000, at a 5% annual return, you're going to end up selling this house for $633,195. Now that's the sales price. There's also realtor fees and a lot of other things that go with it when we factor in taxes and things like that, but we won't do that. So 7% fees, okay, that's 6% for realtor fees, 1% for title fees. So they're going to end up netting, when they look at what they sold the house for after fees, $588,871. Now we look at the 5.25% interest rate. Remember, that was the purchase price now at $472,500. 7 years from that period, they're going to end up selling this house for $664,000, more than this one because they purchased at a higher price, so more interest earned. Now, 7% in fees, they're going to end up netting $618,314. So they're going to net more here at the lower 5.25 interest rate. But we also have to factor in what they owe on the home. Because yes, this is what they end up netting after fees, but what do they owe on the home? They put zero down. So when we look at that, on this $450,000 home, they're going to end up owing $410,163. And so if I go right here to the amortization schedule and you're looking at the 7-year mark right here, and we come across, that's that number right there, ending balance. And so I did that also for 5.25% at this purchase price. This is what they owe. Now, because they're purchasing a year later, they're going to have to rent for that year, right? Now, I ran some numbers, and in far north, the average square footage, I don't have a dollar sign on here, but the average square footage of a home in far north is 3,170 square feet. The average rent for homes with this average square footage is $3,059. Now I did go 300 below and 300 over last 3 months in far north. That's the 4 zip codes up north. So they're going to pay on average $3,000 a month in rent. So you times that by 12, they're going to end up paying $36,716 in rent. And that's a very important to understand, because if they hadn't waited, they wouldn't have had to add on that extra year of rent. And we know rent is 100% in the trash. So now look here. When we're looking at the 7% interest rate on a $450,000 purchase home, owing $410,000 on the note after 7 years, netting this at the sale at this price, this is what they net at a 7% interest rate. At the 5.25%, this is what they net there. So you can subtract the difference, but you can easily see there's roughly about $15,000 in more net equity return, whatever you want to call it. And that's the 7% interest rate. Check my math if you'd like. Screenshot it. Here's how I got there. We'll see what people say.